Hello again, I am Jim Bob and welcome back to Railway Empire Crossing the Andes. So last time out we completed the first scenario, now it's time to turn our attention to scenario number 2. Coffee Barons. At the beginning of the new century, rich coffee farmers and land barons have the power over Brazil firmly in hand, but the goods of their plantations are only slowly making their way from the far interior into the coastal cities, from where these goods are then shipped to the whole world. All of a sudden, the railroad seems to be an acceptable remedy to deal with these issues. Nevertheless, will there be other beneficiaries than the land barons? So we're starting out in Sao Paulo with $1 million. We're going to leave all the other settings as they are. And this is supposedly a medium challenge, but it's got quite a tricky little start, as you'll see when we jump into it. I have had a quick run through the first part of this just to try and familiarise myself with it a little bit, because it is, as I say, quite tricky to get started.
Ha ha! We'll send them home in send them packing.
And this time out we're using the gangster, who has 2 positives, 2 negatives. He's charming, so we'll get 5 auctioneers pretty early on in the start of the game. There's a sense of order, so 15% more income from freight, which is going to be very useful with a freight heavy mission.
Don't ask questions about my business. The less you know, the better.
And his negatives, office tantrum. We'll get no applications from office employees, so that means surveyors and station masters, etc. We won't get any of those, unfortunately. And he's unpopular, 15% less income from passengers and mail. So we're kind of having the emphasis really pushed towards freight with this guy. Nonetheless, we are still going to have to do some passenger services.
Welcome to our fabulous country. My name is Vinicius Almeida Silva, land baron and friend of the people. Look, the situation is like this. Many of my products can only be brought to the coast in a troublesome manner, and the profits are suffering from that. Start by bringing the commodities from the interior of the country to the coast, and don't care about any building regulations. I have enough friends in politics with an open ear for my needs.
Okay, I'm not quite sure what he means by that last little bit about ignoring building regulations, but nonetheless, this is our starting area. So this is Sao Paulo. We've got Rio de Janeiro just there. If we move over here, we've got Curitiba. And then down here, right down here in the coast, Porto Alegre. They're kind of the 4 towns that we're going to be connecting up to over the course of the early-ish parts of this scenario. And these are all the kind of freight goods that we have knocking around here as well. Now, I've tried this in a couple of different ways just to see how it reacts. And I think we've got to go aggressive. We've got to go really aggressive at the start. Because if we take a look at our opening objective, you can see that by the end of 1900, and that's the year we're in right now, we need to connect 8 rural businesses to our network. Which doesn't sound too bad until you realise that quite a lot of these businesses are actually stretched quite far away from our initial starting point. So we have to build a lot of track to be able to connect up to some of these goods. It's going to get expensive, and we only have 12 months to get that task finished. And the longer it takes for us to get it done, the lower our contributing score for that section of this particular challenge will be as well. So the quicker we can get it done, the better. That said, I did do one attempt where I rushed it through and had it done by the end of January just by blitzing the credit notes, and I really struggled to then develop my my network from that point onwards. So instead, I'm going to try something very different. And I'm going to really go aggressive with this. So I'm going to start off with... I can't figure out how to... There we go. I completely forgot how to rotate things for a moment then. I'm going to start off with 2 4-track stations. One here in Sao Paulo. I want to get the angle about right, so it needs to be straight-ish, I think. Yeah, that'll do. And then we're going to put the other one here in Curitiba. And we're going to place that about about there like that. So now we need to connect these up before we can do anything else, or at least in terms of connecting other towns up. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these two lines here. These two center lines are going to be my main lines, and then these side ones I'm going to keep free for other connections. And then we're going to use the ability to make diamond crossings and join tracks together to run off these central tracks here. So need to really be careful how much we spend. So minimizing the cost of routes with bridges and earthworks, really going to be sort of getting in there and tinkering with the line quite heavily to reduce the cost of those down as much as we can. So I'm going to take that piece out for a second there. Trying to reroute this so it's a bit smoother. I need to have a little bit of space at the entrance to the station, so I think that's probably where that's going to go. Just try and raise this up a little bit. See, now we've got a bridge. That's what I'm trying to avoid. There we go. So low gradient, no bridge. Minimalize the earthworks where we can, because earthworks can actually end up getting quite expensive if you don't pay attention to them. And that's our first line. Now we need two lines. One's going to run freight back and forth. The other one's going to run passengers. Even though we have 15% lower income from mail and passengers, it's still going to be, while we're getting started, bread and butter money. So let's get the connections to our station sorted first of all. So let's put our siding choices in there, and then here, to allow us to then change direction when we go back the other way, we'll put in our first diamond crossing just there. We need to do the same at the other end. So that's that's the earliest there we can put that siding in. Let's do the same on the bottom. And then we want our first diamond crossing over here as well. There we go. You'll see I've also turned on map contours in the settings, so that's why we've got these lines displayed here. Really does help you to see the elevation changes. When you've got really narrow contour lines like this, you know it's quite a steep gradient. You can see here, almost vertical in this place here. But it also gives you a good indication as to the difference in height. So from here to here is a massive drop, as you can tell, which you might not necessarily be able to see straight away. It also enables you to see where you've got raised areas over here as well. This is all relatively flat, but as one part of the task that's coming up will be to go to Porto Alegre, you can see here we have this quite high climb here, then drop down again because of this river, and then a high climb again here. But going this way, same again, you come around here, and sooner or later you have to come up against quite a lot of elevation change. So there's no clear and easy way around this way. Kind of the cheapest and easiest way really would be to sort of come up this way and then curve around and cut through across like that. It's going to be an expensive route no matter how we get there, but we are going to have to get there at some point. So now that we have our basic connection here in place, the next thing I want to do is I want to put a warehouse in somewhere around here, and then we're going to have goods coming in from these various different points here into our warehouse, which can then distribute those goods evenly and efficiently between both of those two areas there. So let's go into building construction, scroll all the way down to warehouse, and we want to plonk this somewhere around about here. Now, warehouses are not something I generally tend to use that often. But I think this situation really calls for it. And again, what we're going to do is we're going to run our tracks down, and then we're going to connect up somewhere over here, I think, like this. Hoping this is going to work. actually want that on that line there. I need to have a straight section of track leading into the warehouse, like that, so that we have space for crossovers, and then a merging point over here for these lines will come up and then merge somewhere around about here. So I think that's about right. So we'll plonk that in, and there we go. There is our connection line to come alongside with a parallel track. We're going to run that in there. And what we will be doing in the future, we're not going to do it just yet, will be to then also bring lines splitting off from there and then meeting up somewhere around about here to then drive goods into Curitiba. But before we do that, we need to start making sure that we actually have some local goods being fed in. So an important one, because we need meat for Sao Paulo, is putting a station in just here. So let's start with that just there. And the plan going forward will be to upgrade that to a 4-track station, and then run the 2 center lines through to Uberaba, and then through the warehouse, and then into Sao Paulo, or taking the other line into Curitiba that way. So that'll link that city up that way. So it's again, it also makes the warehouse a hub so that we can ship goods or different products through to all of these locations, and it means all of these local goods around here we can feed into one single location and then spread those back out again with dedicated freight lines into these various different towns, rather than having multiple connections going off in different directions all from one point here. We're focusing all those with a single line into this area here. So let's draw some track, and we are going to have to hit the credit notes relatively early on. That's unavoidable. We're going to try and do things in a slightly more clever way, I think. So again, I want to have a little bit of straight track there if I can. I need to really manage the cost of this as best I can as well. And bear in mind that I am planning on, in the future, upgrading that to a multi-platform station. I think that should do it. Let's see if we can pull this down a little bit more, actually. That should probably be enough. And now let's try and straighten this up a bit. I want to spend as little money as possible getting this all set up, because we're going to need it. I'm just going to spend an extra couple of grand there just to make the bridge a little bit more expensive, just because I'm wary of the gradient. So there we go. It's not a massive problem if you have some gradients, but you know, as a general rule, the shallower the better, because it just makes your train's performance that much better. So there we go. We're looking at 83,358 for that. That's okay. And then we can immediately start feeding cows into the warehouse and then running freight from the warehouse to Sao Paulo, which is important because we need to have a continuing supply of meat going in there, so that we can then run freight trains along into Curitiba and supply them with meat. So we need to go into our company menu here and take out a bond. It's expensive, but it's a necessary purchase. What I also need to do is I need to start playing around with some signals in a moment, but I need a few things. Supply towers being one of those. So I want to have a supply tower about there, and another one about there. I need some signals. So my lines are going to sort of be about here, like so. There we go. That's going to be a directional signal. That's a stop symbol. That's going to be directional. There we go. And you can see that when we get to this point here, the lines become neutral. But from this point onwards, that now becomes a directional line, which is what we want. We're going to get to the warehouse. I forgot. What I also need to do is put in a cross piece here. And what I also need, actually, is sidings here, like this. Because again, we're going to be following the same basic principle that we've already established, with this being, essentially, hopefully, in the future, a through route. These two center lines will become through routes, but for now we're going to be purposing those. And then here I'm going to need a crossover. Like so. And there we go. So now any train coming in this way can get to any platform. It can get to any one of these 4 platforms, and likewise any train leaving any one of these 4 platforms in this direction, say we want to be on this one here, can then go across and then across again and get on that line. And it's the same coming in here. Train will come in on this line here. Well, actually no, that's the outline, isn't it? So it'll be coming in on this line here, joining up here, so it's still technically on the same line. And then from there, with this crossover, can go over into these stations here, these platforms if they want to, or can access both of those platforms. That's the way I'm going to try and set things up a bit. Right, so with the initial sidings and crossovers put in, let's get the rest of our signals in. So that needs to be a directional signal, and again we hit this point here and it neutralizes the lines behind, as you can see, which again is what we want. And now we need to put in lots of signals, so we'll go to multi-signal mode, pop those in like that. There should be a signal there, but there isn't, so we'll go to single mode to drop that one in. And then we've got our run there, space to pull in, stop there, and then space for trains in either side as well. Hopefully they'll count as signal breaks. And then we need to do the same over here as well. So going forward, as I say, we're going to have 2 lines coming off this bend here and then running down and joining up this way. But for now, we're going to save the cash, not spend it on that. So I need my signals over here, so I need a stop symbol there and a directional signal there, like that. And again, the lines are neutralized by the crossover, so these are all neutral lines. You don't have to be going in on a certain platform to be in a certain direction. And we'll put multi-signals in all the way along the line, like that, to give our trains space, so they don't just sit there waiting for ages before they move again. And I think that's enough to get us started. We only have one business up and running, but we need to start making money, and we need to make it quickly. So let's go into a new line. Let's start off by running freight from there to there. There's one other thing I need to do before we go any further, and that's go into the warehouse itself, and I need to activate that good by pressing triangle. I'm going to come down and I'm going to increase the storage up to 50 for now, and we'll add more goods into that warehouse as we progress. Let's get the train up and running. I would love to have a maintenance shed, but I don't have time for one at the moment. I do also need to put in a supply tower over here, but again, it's money I could potentially yeah, we'll put it in somewhere over here. So let's put a supply tower. Yeah, let's put the supply tower over here. for now. There we go. Right, let's get the next train up and running. So the next train is going to be from Sao Paulo to Curitiba, and this is going to be our passenger line, and I want this on the lower platforms. Platforms 3, that's platform 4 at the moment, so we want that to be on platform 3. There we go. And then same over here. It's on platform 1 at the moment in Sao Paulo. I want that to be on platform 3 as well. So this platform here, this one here, this is going to be our passenger platform. That's going to be our freight platform. And then that's going to be our warehouse platform there. And then that is open up for something else. So let's go into route options. We want this to be a passenger train. And let's get the train up and running with a dining car and a mail car to improve passenger rating and also income from our mail. We're going to let that train run through a little bit and then clone it. And while we're doing that, we're going to set up a train to run from the warehouse to Sao Paulo. And this one wants to go into Sao Paulo on platform 1, like that. And I want this to depart from the warehouse on platform 1 as well. There we go. So, first train has just arrived there with some meat. Going to add the locomotive when we have enough cash. Need to speed time up a little bit. Wait for the first trains to actually, or the first passenger train to get in. You see, trains going to the warehouse don't generate an income because they're just transporting goods from one location to another. They're not selling goods. So this is why it's important for us to have, you know, other forms of finance in there as well. So that's it at the moment. That's the only train that's generating any money for us. Now, trains going from the warehouse to a city will generate an income because they are delivering freight goods and selling them at this location. All we're doing is we're kind of just dropping them off at this point and then picking them up and taking them on to the rest of the journey. So when that goes in, that'll give us some more cash. There we go. That's enough just to buy the train we need. We want no wagons on that, but I am going to put a security guard on that. We can't afford the security guard. Alright, we'll wait for this train to get in. Pulling into the station now. There we go. Selling those cows. Now we can afford him. And he will just give us an extra 5% income. So that's going to run back to the warehouse, pick up more cows, and then deliver them into Sao Paulo. Right, where's our passenger train? It's there. We need to clone that. So let's go to mail line and clone train. We don't have enough money. Of course we don't. So let's speed time up. First train's dropping off some passengers. That's given us an extra 15 grand there, give or take. I'm going to wait for that to whiz through. I'm just looking to see where our warehouse train is. Here it comes as well. So we slow things down as these trains approach. You'll see how they'll interact with each other on the line. So this one's stopping here at a supply tower. I think that one's going to do the same, actually. So the passenger train should probably end up getting priority because that will have cleared first. Yeah, there it goes. And the other train is going to probably stop temporarily at those points just there, because it needs the line in front of it to be cleared. Yeah, so you see it's just stopping. And now it can pull away again now that that one's gone into its platform. This one can then go into its platform, and that frees up the line so that they're not waiting for each other. So there we go, more money's going in. passenger revenue isn't huge, but it helps. And there's the freight revenue going through, and that's much healthier. So let's actually create a freight line connection first of all, before we put in another passenger train. So same again, same 2 stations, but this time we're going to start in Sao Paulo on platform 2, that one there. So we've now got the warehouse platform, then the highlighted one in orange, which is our freight platform, then our passenger platform here, platform 3. So those 3 trains will not be waiting for the same platforms. And same again over here in Curitiba. We want that to go in on platform 2. I need to make sure that the rail line is freight only. There we go. Let's add our freight loco. And this one does want a refrigerator car, because we are going to be transporting meat, so we'll get an extra 20% revenue for any food that we transport. There we go. And these are pretty good money makers, so that's why we need that. We also need to start getting this area developed as well. So we're up to May already. I'm going to go in and take out another bond, because we really do need a lot more money. There we go. So over here, to boost our freight over here, we need a large station. When I say a large station, we need a train station, a 2-platform station, and we can position it just close enough. And then we can tag both areas like that. Again, I'm trying to just leave space for expanded lines. That should be enough. There we go. And just to start with, I'm going to run in from here to here. Now this line will end up probably getting ripped up at some point in the future, and or at least reworked, but we've got a nice pretty much straight line connection out the back there. And again, the plan might well be going forward that we straight line through to Porto Alegre, but we'll have to see how that goes when we get that far. It might be cheaper to do something else. So we've got that down to 70,000. Let's see if we can reduce that a little bit more. That's 64,000, because we've raised the track up a bit and avoided those unnecessary earthworks. What about over here? It's about as far as I can go before it tries to build a bridge, so we can get it down to around 60 grand. That's not bad at all. Okay, so let's build that route. We need a train over here to run from there, and that's connecting 2 businesses. It's connecting our corn area and our natural rubber area, both at the same station there, and they're going to run directly into Curitiba like that. We want a loco to start hauling goods across there, and let's find our freight train. There it is. And let's clone that train, because freight is going to be a money maker for us. So there we go. And now we've got enough left over to clone our passenger line. Oh, yeah. Let's see if we can get that. Okay, so we've got the Garrett. It's a faster train. We're probably going to be upgrading all of our trains to Garretts. We certainly need to upgrade our our passenger trains. There we go. So we've got a little bit more freight leaving there. Got more cows rolling in here to feed our meat processing plant in Sao Paulo. We've now got corn going in over here in Curitiba to feed our beer making industry, our brewery. There it is on the way in. We have only 1 passenger train, and we need to improve that. We need to increase the number of passengers. So that's a nice load of freight going in just there. That should make us a nice bit of cash. I want to clone this train as quickly as I can. There we go, just to get a second passenger train running. There you go, and you can see because it has its own dedicated platform, it doesn't have to wait for the track to be cleared for a train to come in, drop its goods off, turn around, go back out again. It can instantly just, as soon as the line is clear at this little point here, it can disappear, which is what we want. Now we do want to upgrade those trains, but it's an expense we can't really justify quite immediately. We'll stick along with those Kits and Myers just for now. And we need to start getting other goods in here as well. So I need 40 grand for a small station here, 40 grand for a small station there, and then the cost of the lines to feed into the warehouse. I also need to feed this in here. That's another 40 grand plus line costs. This one needs to feed into Curitiba, so that's another 40 grand plus line costs. And then we have this one here, which we want to feed into Curitiba as well. So another 40 grand plus line costs. So you can see how much money we really are burning through and how quickly we're doing it. This is why we need that extra revenue from our freight and passenger trains. We're up to 59,000. So let's try and find something that's going to be quick and cheap. We're not going to be running trains on these new services that we're connecting up because we just can't afford to. Not initially, anyway. We're simply looking to actually connect the service. That's it. That's all we're looking to do at this stage. So I'm going to swing this around and bring this in on platform 1, just there, like that. So we can reduce the cost of the line by stretching it in. Oh, look at that. Knocked quite a chunk off the line there. Got it down to 30 grand. It's still a little bit more than we can afford, but line is planned, and as soon as we get some money, we can drop that in. We've got a train coming in here. That is a couple of passenger cars and 4 mail cars. So we'll make a bit of money off that. Not a huge amount. Do have some staff. Who's waiting? It's another security guard. Yes, we want him. And if we're quick, we can actually hire him on here. Like that. And hopefully that'll increase the amount of money that train will get us when that pulls in. Okay, that's the 30 grand we needed. So, new connection built there. So we're now up to 4 businesses. We need 4 more. That's 1, 2, 3. Then that one there is going to be number 4. So, yeah. Now again, we just need to wait for money to be generated. We can't bring in any money, unfortunately. We can't borrow any money. We haven't got any options left. So it's just hopefully being able to generate enough cash. And this is the problem, you see. The demand in Sao Paulo for beer is going to go down, and the demand in Curitiba for meat is already going down because we've been meeting those. So while freight pays great initially, it starts to run out very quickly, whereas passengers always exist. We'll take this because it'll improve the passenger rating and the speed of that train, which will help. I really would like to put another passenger train on. I'm wary of the money issue at the moment. This train is slowed due to lack of equipment. It basically means we don't have a supply tower to feed it water and sand. That's the missing equipment. And we kind of just... Again, we can't really afford 30 grand at the moment. We'll have to just play that one by ear. Almost got enough. There we go. There's enough for the next regional business. But you know what? I'm going to clone a train first. I'm going to clone another passenger line. Try and bring in additional income. Okay, so now he has to wait there because his platform is currently occupied. go. And I'm actually going to put the engineer that I hired onto that train on this one instead, so it helps space them out a little bit better. There we go. Because those aren't going to be quite close otherwise. So we've got an extra passenger train running, which will bring in a little bit more money on a slightly more regular basis. This is the tricky part of this game, is balancing the need to, you know, pay for new lines and new stations with the need to bring in income. Sometimes it's better to buy a train on an existing service and just double the number of trains or increase the number of trains you have running on that service. Oops, damn it. Oh, that's a big change in speed, isn't it? Oh, they get on with each other as well. Fantastic. Yeah, sometimes it helps to increase the number of services you run on a single line just to generate more income. So in the short term it's an expense, but in the long run it's a profit. It's an increase in income. It's tricky trying to balance it, especially when you're really time sensitive, like we are in this first year. We're into August, so we've got August, September, October, November, December. That's it. We've got 5 months to complete this challenge. We're halfway through it. But our trains are going to start breaking down soon because we haven't got a maintenance shed. So our trains are going to become more and more unreliable, which is not good. When they start breaking down, it starts to clog up the lines, and also, you know, it just takes longer and longer for your money to actually get there. Plus, if your service becomes unreliable, I'm sure in terms of passengers and mail, it has a knock-on effect in your reputation, which reduces the number of potential passengers. So let's connect this one. This is going to be a relatively cheap line here. Just looking to see where I want to bring this one in. I want to bring this one in on platform 4 in Curitiba. I don't think we've got enough money to actually create the line, but it shouldn't be too expensive. We've already got a connection there, haven't we? So that's going to have to kind of join up about there. We need to rework this quite substantially. I'm not bothered about gradients on this at all. It's about making this as wow, that's there, that'll do. 33 grand is what we need to connect that service. That's quite expensive just for a short bit of track, but it is what it is. You know, we can't really do much about that. There we go. It's a nice little bit of cash coming in from our corn sale. We are literally a few $100s short. Wouldn't you know it? We've got a stoker here. Increases reliability of trains by 20%. Yes, we definitely want him. Right, that's enough to pay for that. Slow time down again, and let's start looking what else we need to do. We're up to 5 rural networks. 1, 2, 3, and then those 2 there, 4, 5. Here's our trains breaking down a lot. So we need 6, 7, and 8, and we're running out of time. We're into September. So we've got 3 months to do 3 services. We need our money to start rolling in, and when trains break down like this, this is the problem. We've now got a slower freight train holding up a faster passenger train until that's cleared, until that fixes itself. He's only carrying 1 single piece of meat, so I'm actually going to get rid of that train. To manage train, and we're going to delete it and scrap it, bring in a bit of extra cash. Do I risk spending I'd love to spend 80 grand and drop in a maintenance shed there, but I just can't afford it. Instead, I'm going to place a small station there. Run a line in on platform 4, like that. Again, let's try and reduce any earthwork costs, even if it only saves us a couple of thousand. It's a couple of thousand that could be useful. So there we go. That's 6 businesses. Now we need to connect these two. 7 and 8, just there. And these are going to be a bit more expensive. That one in particular is quite a bit, it's quite a stretch of track. Just there. So I'll need my trains to just run a little bit better, and if necessary, to make sure I definitely complete the task, I will sell trains if I need to, just to be able to finance the expansion to get the task done. Because, as before, if we get to the end, then we're in trouble. This train wants a security guard because he's going to be having. Oh, he's broken down right outside the station. Because he's going to be having a regular full load of grain like that. So I'm hoping with only one freight train running as well now, it's going to allow us to generate more money or more goods for each of these two between trips. How expensive is the headhunter? Too expensive. And now it's nearly the end of September, and you can see we're just struggling financially again. Waiting for little bits of cash to come in. And we get interest on our bonds going out all the time, which doesn't help. Right, there we go. We've got enough to plonk in the first of our 2 new stations. Let's do this one first. Spin it around. I want it that way. How much is this piece of track going to set me back? I'm guessing quite a bit. Oh, not too bad actually. 64 grand, and it's all pretty flat. It's all pretty straight. I'll straighten that up as best I can, like that. And the reason I've done that is, again, so that we can hopefully get going forward. But a single supply tower here to cover all 4 of these, so maybe we just need to drag that out a bit more. To there, and that's 60 grand. Yeah, I can live with that. That's not bad. So I just need to earn another 50 to pay for it. Oh, it's broken down. At least he's broken down on a siding. Oh, that's a passenger train that's broken down. So he's going to hold up our passenger services. There we go, it's cleared. And there you go, there our freight line now has 3 cars as opposed to just 1, because there's more goods available each trip. So it makes the running cost of that loco more effective. More cost efficient. October, middle of October, and we still need 2 more to get this first task done. Do I have any trains up this end? No. They're all down here. So it's going to be a little while before more cash comes in. I'll wait for this train to come in. I've got a stoker. It's going to improve reliability. Yes. Stop that train from breaking down so often. I put it on that one because, you know, that's a train that is going to generate, you know, quite a bit of income for us to start with. Well, it was. It's kind of slowing down a bit now. You see, it's only got half a load. Got some more passengers and mail coming in over here. And we still don't have our first research points yet. So I've got November and December remaining after this month. I need 60 grand to build the line, and then I need another 40 for the next station, plus however much the line's going to cost. Got a nice little bit of cash coming in right now. There's some more passengers. And some freight, and some more passengers and mail. There's the warning, a task is about to expire. 2 months to go. We're up to 49,000. Will this be enough? Yes. So, there we go. That's that connection done. Now, we need one more business, and it's going to be this one to connect in over here, and it's going to connect into this line about here. So I need 40 grand to put the station in. That's the cost of one of my trains, and then I need another probably 40 or so grand, maybe more, to actually build the line. That's 2 trains, so potentially I'm going to have to sell at least one of my trains, I think. Here's a nice big load of freight coming in here. Hopefully this is going to give me a nice big chunk of cash. Hmm, 19.5 grand, that's a good start. I'm getting nervous. He's broken down. I don't need trains to break down on me. This is not good. Everything queuing up. Still haven't bought the station yet. Still short. Ah, we're into December. I'm going to have to sell one of my trains, at least, maybe 2 of them. Right, that's enough to buy the station. Hopefully this will be a nice cheap piece of track. Try and bring it in on this corner. $32 grand. Ugh, can we do 32 grand? If we're lucky, we'll get a nice little bit of cash just here off those. That's 10. As long as I don't get any breakdowns on the way. If that front train breaks down, I'm screwed. I'm going to have to sell something. Ah, this will do it. This will do it. Those meat parcels there. That's enough. There
very
we go.
nice.
We're just
That way we
10
can venture a
days of the
step
year
into the
left.
next century.
We complete the first
If
task.
possible, me and my friends will keep foreign investors out of Brazil. For the good of the people, of course. Thereby, the technological progress will fall by the wayside. But let's be honest. Actually, those locomotives of yours should be enough, right? There are a few trading stations in the coastal cities that will trade new technologies for export commodities.
Okay, so there we go. First task is complete. New task. Deliver 24 loads of coffee to Porto Alegre. And Porto Alegre is there. So I need at least 40 grand for a single track station. And then I need to be able to build lines through. And we could potentially try and go this way. Build a bridge over there. That's going to be expensive. And then we've got to come down through here to there. It's not going to be cheap. What might be better would be to actually run out of here across flatter ground and around this way where we can control the gradient a bit better. That way we're not going to have huge bridges which are going to be very expensive, and we're not going to have tunnels which are going to be very expensive, or train crippling gradients. So we'll get into that the next time out. We've run out of time for this episode. Thanks for watching. I am Jim Bob, and I'll be back with some more Railway Empire Crossing the Andes very soon.